Hi everyone, this is Richard. Let's talk about the syntax and the structure of the program. So the syntax is how you actually need to make the program look in order for it to run properly. You know how in languages, we're not always speaking properly. So if you said computer big, computers like kind of sort of big, we know what you're talking about. Okay, you got a big computer, all right? Even though I don't know if that was grammatically correct or correct English or something like that, but that's the idea. But for computer languages, you have to be perfect every single time. If it's off by one character, it will actually just not run altogether, all right? So, or make some really bad, problems with the program itself. So you have to be exact. What we'll learn a little bit about, so we learn about the structure itself is that it starts from left to right, up to down. Not all programming languages are like that, so I just wanted to let you know. But for C#, that's how it is. We will have to learn about keywords, and so keywords are basically the basic vocabulary of a program that you will have to learn, and we will learn all the keywords as time goes by. And we don't have any keywords inside of here. That's perfectly fine. But when we do have them, I will identify them as keywords. So vocabulary built into the program that tells you something about what's going to happen to the program. Okay? Keywords, by the way, are different from different programming languages. And that's one of the defining factors of many programming languages. Namespace. Basically, it's a collection of classes that have something in common. These classes have something in common. They belong into a namespace. Okay, now what's a class? A class is basically, it's a library. Remember our last video, we talked about library, pre-built programs, or this is something that you can make yourself. You make these small little functions in the program to actually do something that can be used over and over again. So little mini programs within a program that is collected in the namespace and used by your program. Okay, I use the word program a lot. For example, like when we make Visual Studio, when you think about it, there's the typing part, but there's also all these buttons. There's also the frame, the window in which it is, right? There's all these sections. All these sections can be separated by different classes. So there is a debug class, a build class, a project class. Then there's a different namespace, which is the Solution Explorer. So there's different ways of organizing the code itself. Rather than having one big jumbled mess, it's kind of like having a dictionary where you have, if we know what a dictionary is these days anymore, where you have the word and then the next word and the next word. It's separated out so it's easier to read. Okay? Punctuation, super important. You got to get the right punctuation every single time. In English, if it's wrong punctuation, not a big deal. In programming language, it's super, super important. It will not work otherwise. Notice we have dot here, parentheses, quotation marks, and we have the semicolon. So that's the punctuation we will learn. Very simply, for the semicolon, after every command, every program, every line on the program, you basically have to end it with a semicolon. If you don't end it with a semicolon, it's like a run-on sentence, but if it's a run-on sentence, it doesn't work at all. Okay, so it has to be there every single time. And we'll talk about where to put it every single time, okay? Actually, spaces, let's talk about spaces real quick. So if I put this here, some languages, like Python, spaces is super important. It will not run if you do the spacing wrong. C#, not so much. So I can make a whole bunch of spaces, and this is still legitimate. Okay? So it will still run equally well. Many times, though, if you just put this in, notice what I just did? So I'll do a few spaces. This is an autocorrect. Semicolon, and it automatically shifts it over there. That's just the built-in autocorrect. Yes, you could put this technically over here, but at the same time, it's easier to read if it's over here, right? So that's what the program will do for you. By the way, it's not like your iPhone or your Android autocorrect. This actually works pretty well, all right? So punctuation, these things, slashes. Notice the slashes here, and I can actually do a triple slash. That lets you know that this is a comment. Okay, so double slash or triple slash means that anything after that is not actually part of the program. It's just what we call a comment. It's kind of a note to self. Things that you would write inside there just so that you would remember them when you review the code later on. Because the code is not going to be perfect. You're going to go back, fix it. But if it's a really, really long program, you want to have some information that you typed out that said, what were you thinking at the time? What is this actually doing for you? You need to type that out. So double means one line, triple means multiple line. Multiple lines. This can go on. Okay? For multiple lines, these comments can actually happen after after some code right here. So I could put it right here. Just a note to self, first program. If I look at this years later, I'll say, oh, this is the first program. Well, I didn't write it, but I uploaded, okay? Or I downloaded or something like that. So this first program. You could do it like this and it'll run perfectly fine. You wouldn't do triple slash, because you type first program. I'm actually not sure what this would do. I guess you could, but that's intended for multiple lines, okay? So, by the way, numbers right inside here, numbers 1 through 21 here, this can go on and on and on. There's no limit. Well, I'm sure there's some limit, but it can keep going on and on and on. These are not part of the program itself. These are just for you. So if the Visual Studio comes back and says, oh, on line 14, there's a problem, you could go to line 14 and find out what the problem is. So that's just to help you out. It's not part of the program in and of itself. Okay? It's kind of like pages in a book. It doesn't add to the book, but if you said, oh, remember page 54, you could just go to 54 instead of counting 1 through 54. Again, helps you along the way. Capitals. Notice the capital letters. C, W, L. That's super important that you have to get the capitals correct. If it's lowercase console versus uppercase console, it is not the same thing. So capital letters are important. And if you define this as capital C console, you have to always use the capital, and because you might have a lowercase c, but you want to make sure that it's the same one, capital or lowercase, every time, because they are different. Okay? It's like having a different character altogether. Finally, auto-population, autocorrect. This is very good. It helps with spelling. Notice that when I come here and I just type an enter and I type like a C, I get a whole bunch of auto-population stuff. It's just things that, hey, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to do this? And it gives me a choice of what I actually want to type in. Okay, so that's very helpful for you. You still got to know what you're doing, all right? But it will help you along the way. So if I misspell this with 3 L's, no, if I just do this, it's automatically stated. I don't need to worry about spelling, okay? Because misspelled words happen a lot, of course. Super frustrating to fix those. So I think that was about it. Let's keep going on, and we'll go from there, okay? Thanks.